Yo, Novatos, thanks again for tuning in to yet another video. Infamous coming at you live with yet another Lowrider ST video. Man, I could make these all day. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the cons. Honestly, the cons for this bike are basically what makes it special, in my opinion. The cons are really the pros, but let's just look at it kind of a as kind of a bagger point of view or bagger owner point of view. Let's look at it from a different point of view, and let's just consider the pluses of owning a touring model. I've never owned one. I've test ridden quite a few. I'm a fan. I like the way they feel. The Road Glide, the CVOs. Have you guys seen my videos? The Street Glide CVO, the Road Glide CVO, they handle amazing. I'm a huge fan. Even the specials and the standards, I really like what they did for the 2022 models, the new Enforcer wheels. I'm a huge fan of how they look. I mean, everything about them. Even the colors are great too. Harley, I really like what they did in the 2022 lineup. So, anyways, getting on with the cons of the Lowrider ST. Some of the cons. So let's just start it off the bat. The frame, the suspension, the stability of this bike. I mean, it's 200 pounds lighter than your touring models, so it's not going to handle the same, obviously. A lot of the touring models are built for long range. I mean, there's performance builds out there, and they look amazing. If you guys seen Nilight Aux's channel, there's a few other guys out there. I'm not going to mention all the names, but some of these YouTube channels, some of these builders, Moonshine, Harley, man, they make amazing builds with these with this new Milwaukee 8 and the touring models. The touring models, the frame itself has been improved drastically compared to 2008 to 2009. That's when they made the huge improvements. And I mean, if you're in the market, I know I'm kind of rambling here, but if you're in the market for a touring bike and you don't really care for the better performance, the cooler temps from a Milwaukee 8, then anything 09 and up is going to be amazing. So anyways, frame, suspension upgrades, long range, man, that's where it's at for the touring models. All right, you have a lot more comfort, like I mentioned in my other videos with the Road Glide Limited. Man, it's a lazy boy on wheels. It's super comfortable. Easily, you could ride on that thing for about, I'd probably say 6 hours, no problem. All right, the longest I was able to go on my Roadster, on my Sportster, I'd say without a fairing or anything like that, no wind protection, I'd say maybe 120 minutes, maybe an hour and a half. I was having some neck issues. I was getting beat up by the wind. The next day I was sore. I mean, that's the difference. You ride one of these baggers and you ride one of these, lighter bikes, you're going to be able to keep on riding, and you're going to be able to enjoy the time when you finally arrive to your location. So the frame, huge improvement. The suspension, only because, like I said, you have more options, more upgrades. You could benefit from that. So those are some of the cons of obviously the Lowrider ST. You don't really have those benefits of a true bagger. Storage capacity is another thing. I mean, you can't really fit a lot of stuff in here. There's not a lot of cargo space. Of course, you could get a tour pack, kind of like what I mentioned on Nilight Aux's channel when we had Marco, I believe. He put out a build with kind of a coastal glide type of a build. He had the FX3 fairing with the Sport Glide saddlebags and the tour pack, and the bike looked amazing. So there's a little bit of compromise. That's the way I see it. When you're talking about a Lowrider ST, there's a bit of compromise when it comes to touring, frame mounted fairing, wind protection, comfort, long range. So storage capacity, getting back on point, is another one of those things. These lids, these saddlebags open up, they open up vertically. It's a little bizarre, so you're not able to fill them up to the brim because of the design flaw, I guess. I mean, I really like the way these look. I do, even though the right one is smaller. They're kind of like my Webbles. They're not they hang lopsided. I think a lot of us guys can agree on that. So maybe the designer, just sneaked it in there, that little design flaw. So yes, these open up vertically. If you guys seen what is it, Nick? If you've seen Nick, he has these little inserts where you can maximize your storage capacity. They're leather inserts, plastic. I don't know if they're plastic or leather, but you're able to fit in as much as you can in there. Zip that up and then shove those inserts, those bag inserts, in the saddlebags, and I think you'll be able to maximize the capacity of your saddlebags without having stuff, falling out the sides when you're opening and closing because of the way they open. Anyways, storage capacity is one of those big ones. So frame, suspension, as in upgrades, that's a big one. And there's another big one here. If you ride 2-up, if you have a loved one and they go riding with you and it's more long range than, just bar hopping, then that would be another one. This bike does not have passenger foot pegs, so there is no 2-up riding on this bike straight from the factory. So that's one of the cons. Moving on to the next con of this, bagger, soft tail, sport touring, designed bike from Harley-Davidson. You have mid controls on here. Depending on your size, that could be a con. If you're anywhere north of 5'11", mid controls might be something that you're not comfortable with, especially having this huge air breather. This air breather sticks out way too much. I'm 5'7", and my leg was rubbing up against this thing all during the whole test ride. I did not test ride the Lowrider ST. I test rode the Lowrider S117, and I also test rode the Road Glide ST. So yes, that might be something that will probably be a problem if you own this. So on top of the mid controls, the foot pegs is the intake. A lot of the members in the Facebook group have already made the switch. They have already swapped out this air breather because they just can't stand it. I mean, it's a good looking air breather. I like how it looks. I don't mind it. Like I said, I have a Trask air breather on my bike, and that thing rubs against my shin all day. So, it just depends. If you're tall, if you're slightly above tall or slightly above average in height, then I think you'll probably end up swapping out this air breather. Moving on to the next con with the Lowrider ST, you don't have infotainment system on this thing. So CarPlay, boom audio. I mean, you do have audio options on this bike from Rockford Fosgate, but let's just say maybe the infotainment system is something that you really like. Onto the last con of the Lowrider ST. Now, I have not test ridden this bike, so I don't know wind protection, how it handles, how it performs. It is a frame mounted fairing. It is engineered specifically for wind protection, but I mean, like I mentioned earlier, there is some compromise. You have style and you have functionality. You can't really have both when it comes to this type of a build. You know what? I'm a huge fan of the shark nose fairing. I really like that fairing. I honestly love it. Style wise, I think the shark nose fairing is one of the better looking fairings that Harley has to offer. I'm a huge fan of the Batwing fairing too on the Street Glide. Both of these fairings both of the fairings look amazing. I think this looks good too. I don't know. I mean, you guys let me know in the comments. You guys think this FX LRST fairing looks better than a shark nose fairing? I don't know about that. Getting back on topic, wind protection. I haven't test ridden this bike. I don't know how this bike performs, but I could tell you, like I mentioned earlier, you could ride on a bagger 6-7 hours at a time, and just enjoy the ride and not have to worry about, of course, wind buffering, helmet buffering, being knocked around, having that neck strain of constant fighting the wind, stuff like that. So that could be one of the cons. But like I said, I haven't I haven't tried this fairing out. I don't know. So if you own a Lowrider ST, let me know in the comments. I don't think anybody's discussed in the Facebook group how great this fairing is. There's people that own the bike. They haven't really mentioned anything. And then again, I haven't really asked anybody. I'll probably do a Q&A for the YouTube channel, but that's probably the cons for the Lowrider ST. You know what? Probably one more con that something that I overheard and something that I just thought on my behalf of having dual gauges, dual up front heads up gauges on my own build. If you guys see my Lowrider S, I have my speedos on my handlebars, and that's probably one of the cons with this bike. Somebody else was mentioning this at the event, at the demo event. How come Harley didn't use the speedo that they use on the Lowrider S, which is basically the Fat Bob speedo? I agree. Why not have full gauges on this bike? You have the Street Bob speedo, which is just a digital gauge. I mean, you can see it kinda when I test rode the Street Bob, and I test rode what was it? There was another bike where I couldn't really see it, and depending on the light, depending on how the sun's hitting it, you might have a trouble time seeing your miles per hour. So that could be a con. You don't have heads up displays. So, and that's kind of along the lines of the infotainment system. But I think that's pretty much it. I mean, like I said, the only cons of this bike is just it's what makes it special. It's what makes it great in my point of view. I love everything about this bike. Mid controls, 200 pounds lighter, great performance, great torque, great sound, Harley feel, Harley experience, everything 100%. I think this is what makes Harleys, great. Anyways, you guys just stay out there, stay safe. Don't believe everything you read. Life's a risk. Get out there and ride. Later.